He's oozing Michael.
He's dripping, or whatever the cool kids are saying.
I never once in my life thought of
I
that.
ruined it. I ruined it for you,
You
didn't I?
ruined it for me.
Yeah.
Make me tear up right now, Blake. This is a
Sorry.
horror
Sorry.
podcast. It's a horror podcast.
Right.
We might be crying.
Right.
From movies to video games, welcome to Replays It All. Today's episode, we have a special guest, Blaine Duncan, one half of the Halloween Lives podcast. How are you doing, Blaine? I'm so excited.
I'm awesome. I'm super excited to be here. This is going to be a lot of fun. We've got a really cool topic to talk about. So I'm awesome. Thank you for having me.
Oh my gosh. Well, you guys have had me several times now. I wanted to have you on for a long time, but like I stressed to you, I'm terrible at thinking about topics for my shows. I totally brain fart on that. And I was like, I want to do a Halloween-esque episode with you the first time you're on, and then we can move on from that. And I thought, let's do something fun. Let's do something a little bit fun, like not too serious. So I thought, how about we rate Michael Myers looks? And then I had to
Yeah.
I had to Google current terminology of what people
Oh.
call outfits and stuff these days. So apparently we're doing like a fit check on Michael
Oh, fit.
Myers.
Okay.
Fit check.
That's what the cool kids are saying is the fit check.
I don't know. Apparently people also say drip.
Ooh.
I don't
Okay.
know.
All right.
I
I'm not cool enough to know that kind of stuff. So we can just call it outfits. I'm okay with outfits. I know what outfits means.
I'm cool with outfits. I'm cool with certain looks within outfits, certain masks. Like I gave you a list of 21, right? 21
You did
looks.
21. Yes.
Right. So
Yes.
we're not just talking about like, oh, how Michael Myers looks in Halloween 1, 2, like not 3, but 4, like all that. There's certain things I wanted to put into the rating mix. Like there's certain looks in certain movies where I'm like, let's judge him on that. Let's
Right.
judge
And
Michael today.
you know what's crazy is like I obviously am a huge Halloween fan and love Michael Myers, but I never realized that there were so many different looks, and there's even like different versions because we're not even going as deep as like with H2O where his mask changes 3 different times and you have 3 different looks because of that. But just the list that you compiled is pretty impressive. And I didn't even realize there were that many. So I'm really excited to hear what you have to say about it too and see actually how our lists sort of match up or don't match up at all because I know that we have some differing viewpoints, I guess, on the Halloween franchise.
We do. And it was hard for me to judge solely on the look of it and not based on my feeling about the movie. And then also I left a whole bunch out because like there's too many. There's like so many. Like I thought Halloween H2O, I mean, was pretty much you feel the same way about all the looks in Halloween H2O. So let's just clump H2O together instead of being like
Yep.
the CG mask and this mask, the H6 mask and this mask.
Right.
It's all like lumped together. So I had to leave some out. But before we get into it, I want to hear your story about why you love Halloween so much and when and where did that passion start for you, Blaine Duncan?
Oh man, I couldn't even tell you. Well, I can tell you the first Halloween film that I ever saw was Halloween H2O. I think I was in 7th grade. So this would have been, probably not long after it came out. It was right around like 1998, 1999. I think I was in 7th grade. And I remember watching it and I had grown up to be I was a horror fan. I've always loved horror movies. Like some of my earliest memories are watching like Friday the 13th, the final chapter, Silver Bullet. I grew up watching this movie called The Cellar, which is like a just total no-name movie, but I remember it as a kid. And then I watched Halloween H2O and I was like, damn, this is pretty cool. I like this Michael Myers guy. He's pretty ruthless and he's cool. I like the mask and from there I don't remember what movie I watched after that. I think I actually watched 4 after that and then before I
Mm.
even watched the original. And I'm still a huge fan of 4 to this day. It's if it wasn't for the mask, we've talked about this on our show, like if it wasn't for the mask kind of being pretty crappy, I would definitely probably rank that higher than 78. I just love that film so much. But yeah, I'm just a huge Halloween fan. And then so is my brother Austin, and we decided, a year and a half ago or so now, we were like, hey, we need to do a podcast. We need to figure something out. And we said, let's do a Halloween podcast. And then it was like, well, Halloween podcasts have been done. What can we do that's different? Well, let's do a weekly Halloween podcast where we do nothing but talk about Michael Myers and the whole franchise. So that's what we did. We started Halloween Lives, and We're over a year. We just did episode 60 actually drops today as we are recording this. Episode 60 just dropped. Or no, I'm sorry, 59 just dropped, not 60. We're recording 60 this coming week. So we're
Okay.
60 episodes in almost, and yeah, that's kind of the story of my love for the Halloween franchise.
That is so amazing. When you think about one movie franchise and you think about making a podcast solely devoted to that one franchise, you're like, well, how many episodes can we do? And you guys are
Right.
just, you're spitting these episodes out and they're always good. They're always entertaining. They're always informative. And there's so much, I never knew there was so much to say about Halloween and Michael Myers and the franchise altogether. And it's just, you guys are killing it. Killing
Well,
it.
I appreciate that, and I know Austin would too, if he were here, and he, he's I say that Austin's like he's the guy behind the scenes who gets everything done. I tend to come up with the episodes for the most part, and that's really my only job, so I have it really easy compared to him, and he does all the the graphics and edits everything and puts it all together and makes it look really really pretty. So he does 99% of the work. I get to sit back and just kick back once the episode is done, but yeah, we appreciate that. And thank you for coming on the show. You've been on the show several times now. You hosted our live 55 episode, which was a blast. You were a trooper.
So
You
fun.
did the wing challenge with us. We ate what was it? Da bomb. Is that what it was? Da
Yeah.
bomb wings. Yeah, we ate the
Yeah.
bomb wings. And yeah, so that was a lot of fun. And we have a lot more coming up. It's going to be fun.
Oh, I can't wait. I can't
Yeah,
wait.
thank you.
And
Thank you.
if I come on again, I can't wait for that too. And I love hanging out with you guys. You guys are just so easy to talk to and so welcoming. And you guys, everyone check out Halloween Lives podcast. These guys are
Thank
just
you.
awesome.
Thank you.
Yay!
We appreciate the support, and likewise, we like hanging out with you too. And you were our first guest host. Like you were our first guest host. You were the first co-host, guest co-host too. So you've kind of like checked some boxes for us too. So we appreciate all that you've done for us as well.
Make me tear up right now, Blake. This is a
Sorry,
horror
sorry.
podcast. It's a horror podcast.
Right,
You can't be crying.
right, right.
So I think let's get into it. We're obviously going to start from the bottom, right? We're going to start
Yeah,
from the one that we
we
just
have to.
really like. What are you doing, dude? What are you guys thinking? And then Michael
Right.
Myers when he's like his fit drip
He, yeah,
swag.
right. He's dripping or whatever the cool kids are saying. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Do you want me to go first? Should I give you? Are we going to do it kind of one at a time? Is that how you want to roll through this thing?
One at a time, start from the bottom. Obviously, you go first. I need to hear it. What is your number one least favorite yuck cringe? That's a terminology these days.
Yeah.
Look for Michael Myers.
I'm going to be really boring here and somewhat predictable that this look for me in particular was just it's cool, but it just is such a small portion of what this whole franchise is about. And that is young Michael Myers in 1978, the 1978 film in the clown costume. And it just simply because it's just kind of a kid in a clown costume and there's not a whole lot to it. That's my least favorite look of Michael Myers.
And it's how we judge this is I was looking at it like, what is aesthetically pleasing? What is kind of creepy? There's a lot of things we can judge this on, but basically it's just
Right.
like what we like to look at and what we think is cool or not. Like
Right.
what's cool, what we like. That is a good one. I had a really hard time making this list. I messaged you last night and like, dude, I'm having a hard time.
Right.
Actually
Right.
tough.
It was tough. It was really tough.
That was a hard one to place because then
Right.
there's like I sometimes I tend to put emotional value into things even when I'm not
Mhm.
supposed to. I can't help it. I'm emotional sack of estrogen, okay?
We love this franchise so much. It's like ranking which kids you like more than the other one, right? Is that sort of maybe if you had 21 kids and you're like, well, shit, I gotta rank these. That's kind of how I feel. Like I love them all. I love them all. I appreciate every single one of them, but there's just maybe some that I like a little more than others.
I mean, if you had 21 kids, we know that your kid who dressed up like a clown for Halloween would be at the bottom.
Right. Exactly. Yes. Exactly.
Boring.
Very, very well said.
Okay, my number 21 least favorite look of Michael Myers in the whole entire franchise is maskless Michael from the David Gordon Green franchise
Yeah.
because I never want to see that. He was just this fragile, frail old man. I don't want to look at Michael like an old man like that. It just totally took the mystique and it took his power and it took his mystery totally down the toilet and I hated it and we know
Right.
how I feel about that whole franchise. But that is one of my least favorite things about it is old man maskless Michael Myers.
Totally
No.
get it. Totally get it. And I'll be honest with you, like I toyed with the idea of doing the same thing because I kind of said the same. Like I really don't want to see Michael maskless. Obviously he didn't end up at the bottom of my list, but you'll see where he ends up here very soon. And but I couldn't agree with you more. Like I if they never show Michael without a mask again, I'm okay with that. You know, especially Michael with a tear dripping down his face. I never want to see that again. Definitely don't want that. Don't like it. So totally understand where you're coming from.
Darn, should have put that
It
scene
did
from one
right.
movie on the list, but maybe that'll come up later.
Crying Michael Myers. Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
I'm going to get even more boring here because my number 20, so my second worst is going to be young Rob Zombie's Michael Myers. Is kind of the
Mm.
same thing, right? Just not a whole lot to him. I will say one that we don't have on this list, but that I do think is kind of a cool look is when he puts the Michael Myers mask on, or he puts the Myers mask on with the clown costume. That is kind of a cool look. I would have ranked that one a little bit higher. And once again, we can't do them all, but that look was very cool. But just the clown mask, Michael Myers in Rob Zombies, nah, I'll pass.
That was originally on my list.
Oh,
The
really?
Michael Myers
Oh,
mask. I should have left it on, but I was like, there's just too many. I had to
there,
delete like a
yeah.
few of them. I'm like, at 21, I'm like, what are we gonna do? 30? So that one was on my list. I should have left it on for you.
That's okay. That's all right.
Ah,
I can still say it's not like it would rank super high for me, but it would be higher up than the Michael Myers clown, Rob Zombie version of that whole thing. I do
right.
like that costume better. I think it's obviously a little bit it's like a throwback costume, I guess, even though that 1978 costume was probably made in 1978. But I just like that classic look of it better, so that's why that one ranked technically higher than the 78 one for me.
I totally feel the same way. And you know what? You were totally right about that Michael Myers mask on him when he's a kid. That's that huge oversized
Yeah,
mask.
it's
It looked
cool.
creepy as heck. I should have
Yeah.
kept it on there, but
And then
I
he's
agree
like
with you.
walking down the hallway towards his sister and she's like
Oh,
screaming and bleeding. It's yeah, it's creepy.
oh crap. I totally should have left it
That's
because and
okay.
it's the
That's
way
all right.
it's filmed kind of choppy where he's like walking kind of weird and choppy, like almost like robotic, like
Right.
he looks like a doll. Damn.
Right.
Okay. Well,
Right. Yep.
honorable mention.
That's right.
That one.
Exactly. Exactly.
Okay, my number 20 is the Halloween Kills flashback Michael Myers.
Really?
I yes,
Wow.
yeah, I know. A
Okay.
lot of people love that and say that's one of their favorite parts about the movie. I look at that and it looks nothing to me like the 78 mask. It
Right.
looks too smooth. I don't know, everything about it. I looked at it and I thought there are people on Instagram who make better masks
Yes.
replicating the 1978
Yes.
mask, then what are they doing in this movie? Because this, to me, looked nothing like it. I did
Right.
not like it. I didn't like how he busted out all fast and
Oh, when you attack the cop.
off that cop. Yeah, I was
Yeah.
just like,
Yeah.
this does not look like Michael Myers, and it doesn't look like the 1978 Michael Myers at all. So did not like
I
that.
agree with what you're saying. That one did. It's obviously a little bit higher for me, but I agree that they should have put way more effort into that mask. And I get it. It does the general look of it. Like if that was the mask that we got in the next film, everybody would probably be like, "Damn, that's cool. That's awesome." It looks really close to the original. But because it was supposed to be that mask, like it missed the mark a little bit. And Austin and I have talked about that too. Like you can literally go on Instagram right now and find masks that look like if you didn't know any better, you would think it was the mask. Why did they do that? So I understand where you're coming from.
Yes, that one really. I added that one in later because I was like, oh, I gotta put this one in because it's a hot take. So your number 19.
Yes.
What is that?
My number 19 is even though I think this is a cool look, it just like, once again trying to rank these things is really tough. It's the Rob Zombie Jack-o'-lantern institution look, where he's wearing the jack-o'-lantern mask, I should say, the orange mask, when
Mhm.
he's in the institution. It's a cool look. Glad they did it. I'm glad they kind of, gave him a little bit of character as he was breaking out and doing his whole, killing spree within Smith's Grove. But I that one just falls to the bottom of the list for me.
It's very our lists are very interesting and they're very different. I love that.
Oh, really? Okay, well that's
Oh,
perfect. That's awesome. That's awesome.
so different. I love it.
Perfect.
This is why I had to like take a lot of which movie do I love and I tried to look at just looks wise and what I like looking at. And yeah, very different. So I love this. Okay, my number 19 is this might have got too much of my emotions into it, but number 19 is Halloween Ends, Michael Myers.
You're killing me. You're killing me. What are we gonna do with you when Halloween ends? We have to like we need to face this thing head on, Marie, and we need to say everybody needs to come together and support you and make you love this film because it's a great film.
If it wasn't a Halloween movie, I think I'd be okay with it. If it
Okay,
was just if like if Laurie and Michael weren't in it and it was just the Corey movie, I would probably
sure,
like it. But
sure.
you know what, my favorite look for Michael in Halloween Ends is when he's thrown into the meat grinder because whatever, get rid of him already. Pate, Michael Myers, I'm here for
Sure.
it. Ground up, ground beef, Michael Myers.
It
At
should
this
have been on
point,
the
just
list. It should have been on the list. We could have that could have been like your number one choice, you know?
I feel bad saying it. It's my
I
boy. I
hey,
feel bad.
I know. I get it. I get it. Halloween Ends. There's such a love-hate, thing for that film. I love it. You hate it. But what's awesome is we're still Halloween fans and people are pretty cool with each other for the most part. But so I get
Yeah.
it. I get it. My number, where are we at? We're at 18 now, right? Yeah, right.
Yeah.
18 is the H4 bandaged Michael Myers. And I've got a little bit of a little bit of an asterisk here, a caveat to this whole thing
Mhm.
is I think his look with the coveralls is kind of cool. But the scene where he's still in the hospital gown and he like lifts up the bar and like to slam it down on the dude, all I ever picture in my head in that is like that dude's last sight was Michael Myers burnt just hanging above him out of this hospital gown. So I can't get I can't get over that scene. I don't want to see Michael Myers, anything of Michael Myers hanging out. This is just like, give me coveralls, Michael Myers. I don't want to see you in a hospital gown. Kind of cool, but just a little different.
I never once in my life thought of
I
that.
ruined it. I ruined it for you,
You
didn't I?
ruined it for me.
Yeah, I ruined it.
And
I
I
know.
like,
And
I'm all,
everybody who hears this from now on, they're gonna
oh
think
my
the
God.
exact same thing. They'll be like, "Damn it! Why did he say that?" Now that's all I can think of when I
Ugh.
see that scene. But that's all I see, and I just feel bad for the dude. I don't even care that he's getting killed. I'm just like, why would you want that to be the last thing you see? So, and hopefully it wasn't, but in my mind it was.
I'm just imagining this like 7-Eleven like hot dog wiener that's been on the
Right.
rotating rotisserie for
Yeah, for
far
like
too
3
long and it's
days.
all
Yeah. Yeah.
crisp and
Exactly.
cracked.
Yeah. Exactly. Exactly. Nobody
Ah,
wants to see that. Nobody wants to see that. So
nobody wants to see that.
that's
Okay,
my
good one.
18.
Wow. Okay, my 18 might be shocking, but my number 18 least favorite look is Halloween H2O Michael Myers.
Wow. Okay. Tell me more.
Although I will say that I grew to appreciate the fact that you see Michael Myers' eyes in this movie because I feel like it adds another dimension to it. The eye contact is a huge deal in this movie and it adds like emotion and tension between him and Laurie, but it looks goofy AF. He looks
Yeah.
goofy. The hair is goofy. The eyes are goofy. Everything looks just too goofy. And to me, that mask, the all the masks in that movie, except for the H6 one they use in the beginning, all those masks make the movie imperfect. And to me,
Right.
if the mask was better, it'd be like a perfect Halloween movie to me. And it already is my favorite Halloween movie, but I can't even imagine. Someone needs to deep fake that movie. Someone needs to
Oh,
deep
wouldn't that be
fake it.
awesome?
Oh, I'd love to
That's a
see
great
it.
idea. That's a great
Ah,
like somebody needs to yeah, somebody needs to do that. Just go through that and they could do it now with today's technology with CGI. You could probably make it look perfect if you just took like that mask and put it on in every single scene. That's how I feel about 4. Like 4 to
mm-hmm.
me is damn near perfect with the exception of that mask. It just takes it
Not a
down
good
a
one.
notch for me. So, yeah. Yeah. Okay.
Not a good
Well,
one.
that was surprising for me to hear that because I know how much
Mhm.
you love that film. I'm
Mhm.
going to go with one that you're probably not going to agree with here because of some conversations that you and I have had. But it's the Brute mask, Michael Myers.
Mm.
That scene you see from H5. It's a cool scene. Definitely love it. And we're talking about the scene where, Michael Myers is sitting in Michael, the boyfriend's car. of
Mhm.
what's her name again? It's not Lindsay.
Tina!
Lindsay Tina, thank you.
Tina!
Tina, yeah, Tina. She's sitting or he's sitting in waiting for Tina, and he's in this brute mask. The mask is called the brute mask. And it's a cool mask. It's a creepy look. I think it's a creepier scene than the mask, or than the look, I guess. So I like the scene more than where I have this necessarily ranked. But that's where that one falls for me because it's just not necessarily a classic Michael Myers look.
Love it. Some shockers on these lists.
I know. I figured once again. I know we've talked about how much you love that scene, so I figured that one is gonna that's might rise a little bit for you.
It just might.
Okay.
Okay, my next least favorite, we're still number 17, we're still in the lows, is H5 Michael Myers. His
Okay.
bird-like face, that mask is so air blown, like he's been in a really crazy fast convertible. His hair's all slicked back, and it
Right.
looks so like little owl bird Michael
Yes.
Myers. I never can look past it. H5 mask is I don't know what they're thinking. And then there's also don't forget we got to throw in the fact that he cries in that one. That just ruins it. Michael Myers in those
That
movies.
yeah, I would agree with you there, and I think we just talked about this on our show, like how that mask made it through so many different layers or so many different filters before that film was made that nobody was like, "Hey, this just doesn't work, guys. This is not right." And they had to like put a new nose and like a new like appliance nose or whatever on the mask because it was even more jacked up looking than what they originally filmed with, and or what they ended up filming with. I hear you. Where does H5 land for you just in general? Like where is it?
Hmm.
You don't have to give me an exact, but like is it way towards the bottom or is it middle of the pack or where does that one land?
It is middle, maybe just above middle. I like that
Okay.
movie. When I was a kid, 4 and 5 were my favorite, so it has a
Yep.
special place in my heart. Those are the ones I watch the most. So I like 5. I liked Tina. I like the barn Halloween party. I like Halloween 5, but I had to look past his looks, man. Sometimes you
Right.
just, if you love something to the core, you can look past it, but I never would get past that bird face.
Right. I I hear you. I hear you. I don't know how they got to that point. But once again, if we could go back and do it over, I wish there was a different mask.
Oh.
My number 16 is the Rob Zombie. I'm gonna just call it like the coveralls. I think I don't know what you want to call it, but like just the
Mhm,
the the Michael Myers adult coveralls, Michael Myers that you see in basically the second half of the film. Um,
mhm.
I never really cared for the brown coveralls and like they were almost looked like he should be out like snow blowing his driveway with those things versus versus like a mechanic.
Yeah.
So I never really cared for those coveralls that much. It made him, I think, much bigger and added to that whole like visual element of it, I guess, where he just looked. I mean, Tyler Mane's a big dude, but like just having sort of that thick, extra padded coveralls that he was wearing just made him look that much bigger, but just never really dug that look. I'm not huge on that mask, like the rotted Michael Myers mask where that you see in Rob Zombie's H1. And I think combining it with the coveralls, I was just kind of like, you could have done better. I mean, I appreciate that he made it his own, but just comparing it to everything else, it falls to the lower half of my list.
I feel that. I'm looking at where it is on my list. I'm thinking, is that too high? Ah,
Sure.
whatever. I'm stand by it.
That's all
I'm
right.
stand
Let's
by
roll
it.
with it.
But
Yeah,
I
let's roll
feel
with
what
it.
you're saying. 100%.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh, my number 16 is Halloween Resurrection. It is strictly because of those eyebrows, dude. I can't get over those eyebrows. Those like glam, thick, dark eyebrows of
Right.
Michael Myers. I
Right.
cannot. Again, I'm like, what were you thinking with those brows?
He's
Can't
the
get over it.
boy band Michael Myers. That's what it is.
Seriously.
He's so manicured. It's like except for his lip, his like upper lip. Austin, my brother was the one who ruined it for me. Like the upper lip, there's like that much room between the nose and the upper lip. It's weird.
It is a weird mask. I don't
Yeah.
understand the choices. But
Yeah.
yeah, between the upper lip space and the brows, I can't with that.
That mask, and I know we're not obviously ranking like the masks here, but like that mask
Mhm,
was the first Michael Myers mask that I ever owned. And that
mhm.
around that time when that film came out, which I think it was 2002, if I remember right, like that was that was when I was really getting into like the Halloween franchise and really digging it. Like I remember reading the script for that film before it came out, and I bought the Cinema Secrets mask right away. But I remember when they showed that mask on the internet, like on HalloweenMovies.com or something for the first time, and I loved it. I thought it was so cool. And now I'm just like, this mask sucks. Why? Well, once again, how did we get to this point that somebody was like, that's what we're going with right there. That's the winner. Out of all of these other designs, that's what we're gonna go with. I don't get it.
Yeah, I don't know if they're thinking. I don't know.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
agree.
Well, here's where we're going to start to our lists are going to start to catch up, or my list at least going to start to catch up with your list a little bit. And I'm going to go at
Okay.
number 15. I'm going to go with the maskless David Gordon Green, Michael Myers. We kind of already talked about it. I agree. I really don't ever want to see Michael Myers maskless again. Obviously, in 18, you get like just some sort of side shots of his face. You don't really get a whole lot. And I guess you never really get like some, full on shot of him. But I kind of do dig how he looks in the second one, the David, in Halloween Kills, because I think he's just has that burnt look and he just looks battered and broken and he's been through hell. But overall, I don't really want to see that again. Keep his mask on. That's why we love him. And yeah, I don't need to see Michael Myers maskless anymore.
I don't know if it's just like the actor they chose, or he just was like really thin and frail looking, and just like I don't know if they chose like a different actor. I maybe I would have been a little bit
Right.
more on board. I don't know. I couldn't.
Sure.
He didn't look like what I always envisioned Michael Myers to look like under the mask.
Yeah.
So
I get it. Yeah, sort of like the balding, like just he looked like an I mean, he really did look like an old man. I mean, the gray hair and stuff. And I guess he was pretty similar in age to what Michael would be, but I agree that's not really what you're necessarily visualizing when you think of Michael without a mask on.
no, I didn't want to see him look so like average.
Right.
I wanted to
Right.
be like I
You
don't
want him
know.
to look like Nick Castle. Nick Castle today.
The castle today, even though he has such a
Yeah.
kind
That's
face.
right.
Okay, my number 15. I don't know why, but it's Halloween Kills. I don't know why.
Okay.
Maybe it's just because I'm so tainted by that movie, and I
Sure.
dislike that movie much more than Halloween Ends, by the way. Um, because of lack of substance and everything was just so like, are you kidding me right now?
Right.
But so I just when I look at him, I get bad feelings. Halloween Kills, it's just like I don't want to look at you because you're bringing me bad memories, and I just don't like the way you look because of the way you made me feel. You know when that happens.
Okay. I totally understand. I totally
Okay.
get it. Totally get it. Well, I won't talk too much about Kills because it's obvious I haven't had it yet, but I can understand where you're coming from. I
Okay.
definitely get it. So where we at 14 now. Mine and this one just disappoints the hell out of me that I even have to say this, but um H4 Michael just I just am not a fan of the overall look, right? And I already kind of talked about like if he had a better look, like if you took the 78 or the H2 1981 version of Michael Myers, or even H6, or probably even like H2O, any of those, and threw them into replaced that look of what you see in Halloween 4, that movie probably is my favorite out of the entire franchise. But I didn't like his the coveralls that he was wearing. Like they were, if you look at them really closely, they have like pinstripes. They were pinstriped coveralls that they just really dirtied up and made him grungy looking and stuff. The mask is not good. They added like that little like layer of extra, neck to his mask. Just overall a huge swing and a miss. And the thing is they had like 7 years to come up with an awesome look because Halloween 2 came out in 81 and then H4 came out in 88. So to have that kind of time and then to just really kind of whiff at it, in my opinion, that's too bad. But H4 is where that one H4 is my what do we say 14. 14. So still the lower half.
Well, I agree because that's also my number 14.
Ooh, perfect.
Isn't
Okay.
that weird?
All right.
It's
That's
weird.
awesome. That's perfect. That's perfect.
I
Okay.
agree with everything you just said. I find the mask too white, too loose, too droopy, like baggy. It's too didn't they add like a mesh black?
Yeah, his
Can't you see
eyes.
it? Can't you see it? Yeah, it
Yeah.
looked very cheap. His suit looked cheap. Everything looked like very can't explain it. Like he just looked very stiff and like everything just ugh. Blech. It was
He looked like
yucky.
he had
It wasn't
shoulder
scary.
pads. He looked like he had like shoulder pads, like his shoulders were really squared off, and like it
Yeah.
was just, yeah, it was weird. It was weird, and what's weird is like George P. Wilbur played Michael Myers in H4, and then he played Michael Myers a lot in H6. and I am a huge fan of the way he looks in H6, but the way he looks in H4 is I'm not a fan. So it's that's a mystery of life that I will never know why it's the same actor for most of those shots, but looks insanely different between the two of them. So, yeah, well, we agree. We found one that we completely agree on. That's perfect. Number 13 for me is going to be Halloween H2O. I think it for all the reasons you already said. To me, Michael's look in H2O is like it's just sort of like vanilla. It's like
Mm.
lukewarm water. Just there's nothing about it that really excites me. I wish they had stuck with the H6 mask that you see very briefly in that opening scene. But the classic H2O look, I guess, that probably everybody imagines when they think of Halloween H2O and what Michael looks like, uh, just sort of meh, just sort of bland. I agree. You talked about his eyes. You talked about like the eyes growing on you that you could see his eyes more, and you're 1,000% right. That probably makes sense that they wanted him and Laura to have like that connection. You wanted to really be able to see his eyes so that, Chris Durand, who played Michael, could really sell that scene with his eyes at the end of the movie. But yeah, it's just vanilla for me. Just nothing real exciting, so that's where H2O lands for me.
I'm shocked that it's like higher than mine, but I agree with everything you
Yeah,
said. And it's not scary at all. Like it's not like creepy. There's no creep factor.
right,
It's just a little goofy looking. Yeah, I
right.
agree. My 13 was the Rob Zombie kid Michael with the
Oh, okay.
clown suit mask. I don't know. There's something creepy about kids in clown suits. I think it's the fact that when you add something that's supposed to be a joyful, funny, a kids party type look, and then you put intersperse it with like horror and violence,
Right,
it makes
right.
it so much creepier. And that kid just I mean, he's so creepy in that movie. And this the type of mask they got, making it look kind of similar to the one in the first one. I was like, yeah, I kind of like it. I dug
Well,
that drip.
that's okay. You dug that trip. That's awesome. That's cool. I forgot that you hadn't even talked about those yet. So, and you haven't talked on the original or touched on the original 1978 kid version of Michael Myers. So, um, I'm very curious to find out where this is going, Marie. That's very interesting. But okay, good to know. And I agree.
Mhm.
Kids in clown costumes, there is something a little and just in general, like those old costumes, probably the costumes that you and I grew up with on Halloween, like the
Yes.
boxed costumes, and going even further back to like the 20s and 30s and 40s, like the Halloween costumes, creepy, creepy. Like just the eye holes, I think, in the plastic masks.
So those like hard plastic masks that
Yeah,
is just like you're all sweaty and hot breath under there and they're
yeah,
uncomfortable and got a string. It's just everything about this
yep.
creepy.
And it's cracked on the edge because your mom told you not to play with it, but you played with it before Halloween and it cracked. So now it's like poking you in the face all Halloween night. Like I remember that. I do remember that. So I agree. That is a creepy. That's it's probably maybe that one should have been a little bit higher on my list for me because you kind of sold me on that a little bit more. So I'm going 12 Resurrection. We just kind of talked about it. So Brad Laree played Michael Myers in that film, and you can see that he's wearing black. And there's like behind the scenes photos. You can see he's wearing black around his eyes, like black makeup. Um, I go back and forth in my head whether that looks kind of cool or whether it looks like Michael has mascara on or some like that. That's like, and I bounce back and forth, and I don't know that I necessarily have like what I would totally decide today. But I go back and forth whether Michael's eyes look cool, and that might be the only reason why this look has sort of risen a little bit for me. Um, I do like it's super. It's like really stupid that I'm even saying this, but like I like that he kind of has the popped collar thing going again because he lost that for a
Mm.
little while in some of the
Hmm.
films. So I like that, which goes back to that classic 1978 Michael look where he's got the collar popped. So yeah, that's where Resurrection lands for me is at number 12. So we're getting now we're slowly starting to get closer to we're obviously mid range, but we're starting to get up there a little bit with some of our
Top
favorites.
10. I
Yeah,
know. I like all those things you said about Resurrection. Those are things yeah, Resurrection, those are things I never really noticed before while watching it, and I'm gonna rewatch it at some point and notice it
yeah.
now. So thank you for
Well,
that.
you see, when I don't have anything else to do with my life, is I pay attention to small, stupid stuff like that, and then I'm like, wow, this makes this look better because he's got his collar popped, and when I should be worrying about taxes or something far more important than Michael Myers' look.
No, you have your podcast and you need to pay attention to great detail to
That's
everything about
true.
Halloween. And you guys are the
That's
kings of
true.
the Halloween, so you should know. And yes, you need these
Okay.
attention to detail. It's
All
worth
right.
it.
That's true. You sold me on it. Thank you.
Okay, my number 12 is the 1978 clown suit kid, Michael.
Okay.
And I think maybe it's because I get sentimental. I can't help it, and that's where it all began. And his like blank stare, like it's almost like when they take his mask off, he's sitting there like, "What did I just do?" But
Right.
he doesn't care.
Right.
It's more like his expression, but also the little hand. I know it's not his hand. It's
Deborah Hills. Yeah.
yes, thank you, Deborah Hill's hand,
Yep.
but like that little hand, like
Yeah.
the shiny suit and the hand and the little. That's what I mean. Like it's the horror mixed with the innocence of that suit that I think really in that look, and him being a child that really like gets me. And like, and also that's like the beginning of Halloween for me because I think that's the first Halloween movie I ever saw was '78, and that was just like where it
Oh,
began.
cool.
So I had to put a little bit of my emotion into it with that.
Totally get it. Totally get it. And I think the thing that really makes that scene creepy. Now, I don't know how old that actor was when he played Michael Myers, but when you think about like a 6-year-old kid, like a truly a
Uh-huh.
6-year-old, and how little and how innocent and how just, naive and not having really much exposure to the real world. And you now take that scene of a 6-year-old stabbing his 17-year-old sister, like that's jacked up. Like that's
Yeah.
really messed up. So that in itself is just creepy and I love it. Have you ever, by the way, have you ever read or listened to any of the audiobook or the audiobook for the original 78 novelization? You ever read that?
No, I think you've asked me this before. No, why?
Have I?
Why?
Okay. So it's just, it goes into way more detail. You can go onto YouTube and you can find the novelization, like somebody reading it, like
Yeah.
an audiobook, and it's goes into way more detail about like the events that happened in when Michael was 6 years old and some of the family history and stuff. It's really cool. Like I would encourage anybody to listen to it. And I realize that some people don't want a lot of backstory.
Mm,
But it's just an interesting take to hear some of that stuff. And they talk a lot more about like the clown costume, and I
mm,
think they talk about like how his grandma made it for him and stuff like it's just kind of cool. So you
cool.
should check it out. It'd be worth if you're ever like on a road trip or you're on an airplane or something and you need to kill like 3 hours. It's worth listening to. It's kind of cool.
Gosh. Okay. Awesome. Thank you. Right.
Let's see. I'm at number 11. Is that where we're at? Yes,
Yep.
number 11.
Yep.
This is where H5 Halloween 5 lands for me. I don't
Ooh.
know why necessarily it's so high because the mask definitely brings it down, but I really like that in H5 they had Michael's hands be really like burned up. I mean, they were in H4 too, but in H5 they were really just they were burned up. They looked nasty, and something about that tattoo. Even though I don't necessarily like the idea, the tattoo thing was kind of like it was cool to me at one time, and it's always just stuck with me. And I think it's a nostalgic thing because I tend to like that movie a lot more than other people, and it sounds like you do too.
Mm-hmm.
It's no doubt like not a top 3 or maybe even top 5 favorite for me, but it's one that I do enjoy watching. I watch it every year on Halloween. And I don't know. There's like if you took that mask away and replaced it with even probably the H2O mask or something like that, it's just kind of I don't know. I always like the look of H5 and just like Michael himself and Don Shanks, the way he moved as Michael Myers, and I don't know. That's
Yeah.
I had a hard time placing 5, and that's where it ended up on my list.
Yeah, the body language demeanor of Michael Myers in Halloween 5 is good. And I do love the scene. You're right, his burnt hand with the close up when he's
Right.
gripping the thing and then
Right.
Jamie's
Yeah.
gripping it and you see he turns his hand like this and oh,
Right.
that's so cool.
Right.
And when you see the thorn tattoo, I've always wanted to get it just to,
I I know.
on
I've
my
thought about
wrist. I'm
it.
like,
We were out at H45, Halloween 45 Years of Terror convention in LA at the end of September, early October. There were a lot of people that were getting those, and I felt bad because we were going up to meet Don Shanks, the actor who played Michael Myers. And I told this story on the show, so you may have heard this, but we were going up to meet him, and there was this young kid, probably 18, 19 years old, that was in front of us. And he's like, "Hey Don, he was all excited. He's like, "Hey Don, I gotta show you something." And she showed him, he had the tattoo. And Don's like, "That's really cool, but it's on the wrong hand." And it just like you literally saw this kid's soul leave his body because he realized he just got this tattoo and it was on the wrong wrist. And I just immediately felt bad for the kid. I was like, "Ooh, that's a big screw up." You maybe wanted to check which wrist that was before you committed to putting it on your body, but I felt bad for him. So,
also it's like, maybe don't tell the kid that. Like that's in his
well,
body
that was
forever now. Like shh.
that's kind of what I thought. Like we sort of said that too. Like, couldn't Don have just been like, "Oh, Awesome, dude. Thanks for getting that tattoo. No, he crushed that kid right in front of us.
I feel it. I feel it. I wasn't even there. My 11 is 2018, Halloween 2018, Michael Myers.
Okay.
With his mask on. I don't mind that mask so much. I think his look and everything in that movie isn't bad. I like that the mask is kind of like rotting and everything like that. I didn't mind the shape of it. The hair was fine. It's one of the best mask looks, I think, in the franchise. Even though that movie to me is like, I used to really like it when I first saw it, and it's gone way down since I've watched it a
Mhm.
couple more times. But I didn't mind that look. I really like the scene where he takes it out of the trunk and puts it on. I love that. And just that look right there, that image, I think it's pretty high up for me.
Sure. Okay.
Hmm.
I I agree. You will see mine very very shortly.
Okay.
Where I'm at is number 10. I'm at the Halloween 2, so 1981's Halloween
Mm,
2, the
mhm.
bleeding eyes look of Michael Myers. And once again, this is where for me the top ones were really easy and the bottom ones were really easy, but I feel like anywhere from like 8 through 16, 15 maybe were really tough. Like I
Yeah.
could have probably gone back and forth and like moved a lot of them around. I don't know necessarily know why this one landed at number 10 for me, but and I was trying not to read too much into this, right? Because we're talking strictly about the look of Michael Myers. But
Yeah.
I can't forget about the fact that the dude just took two bullets to his eyes and he's still like walking around and it's a cool mask. I don't own a mask that has like the blood tears or whatever. But I don't know. It was just sort of silly to me. It was just so unbelievable that it sort of took that look away for me or took down the look for me a little bit. So that's where the bleeding eyes Michael Myers goes for me.
I love that answer. But I do like that it made it to your top 10. It was in your top
Yeah, it
10.
did. It did. Yeah. And probably honestly, and sorry, one thing to say is probably the reason why it's even that high is just because that was like the OG mask with just a
Yeah.
different actor wearing it. So that's probably why it rose so high for me. But yeah.
My number 10 is H6. I don't mind that mask. I don't like the hair so much. I do find he's really intimidating in this movie. His stature is bigger. He's a pretty ruthless Michael Myers in this movie.
Hmm.
And he does that so well. He's a little too bulky to me in this movie, maybe like a little
Right.
too like maybe he had a couple beers and ate too many dogs. I don't know, but he's a little too bulky in this movie for me. But I think it adds to the intimidation aspect of it, and it's one of the higher ranking masks to me is
Yeah.
in Halloween 6 for sure.
Yeah. I agree with you. He looks like he maybe was sat around for too many Halloweens eating Halloween candy because he does seem just bigger, like especially like in like the belly area. Like he's not fat
Yes.
by any means, but he's just a bigger, bulkier, look, I guess, of
Yeah.
Michael Myers. So
Yeah.
so totally get it. And I love that mask too. I think when I look at like any of the masks from like an original standpoint of like creating a mask that is fresh but still trying to pay some homage to the original, like that's where I think 6 just hits it out of the park. Like it has a very similar look, but they made it look different enough that it just to me and it looks just it's kind of a mean looking, like you said, it's like a ruthless whatever. So uh I hear you there. My number 9 is going to be, I don't remember what number it was for you, but it is I know it was at the bottom of your list or close to it, is the Kills flashback scene mask.
Oh.
Yeah, so I think for me, the reason that is as high as it is because it is that classic Michael Myers look. And as much as I kind of crap on what they could have done with that mask, I I also look at it as like they were trying their best, right? They turned in their report after working on it for the entire semester, their final paper, and it was like, hey, I did the best that I could, and I can accept that. You put your heart into it. Maybe it wasn't perfect, but that's why to me that look and just the idea in general for me, I love the fact that they even attempted to go back to that look. Um,
Mm.
and wasn't perfect, but I love that. That's the thing that I love the most about that movie is just that they even attempted to do that. So yeah, the flashback scene for me, or that flashback look, is personally, that's where it lands for me at number 8.
Oh, mine was number 20.
I
Oh,
know.
that was a big
I
gap.
know. Yeah, that is a
Mm.
big gap. That's well, that's why yours surprised me. It really did. That surprised me.
That was your number 8 or number 9?
Oh no, I skipped 9. You know what? No. I'm I'm changing things up. I'm This is gonna be, we're gonna run and gun here. And that was my number 9. Okay. This is my
Ooh.
number 8, and I'm gonna stick with it. Rob Zombie's Halloween 2. The the dream sequence, Michael Myers, would that maybe, was that a good way to look at it, where and hopefully that's what you're talking about with this, because we're gonna get to the other version of it. But I'm talking, I guess for me personally, I'm talking like the dream sequence when he's chasing Lori through the hospital in the rain. He just looked scary. Like Michael Myers looked like, if any version of Michael Myers out of probably any of these was after me, that one to me is probably the scariest. And maybe for that reason alone, it should be ranked a little bit higher. But the scene where he's holding the axe outside and his hair is a little bit longer on that mask, and it's like just
Mhm.
dripping, like the water's just running off of it. Number one, we've never seen Michael in the rain like that in any of the other films, which is kind of cool.
Yeah.
It's a cool look. But he just looked brutal and mean, and his mask was a little bloody at that point already. And yeah, I that's I like that. I like that look.
Okay. Well, that is awesome because my number 9 was the Rob Zombie Michael Myers, and then my number 8 was the Rob Zombie 2 Michael
Oh,
Myers
okay.
for that reason, like you just said.
Okay.
And I
Yeah.
I love I love how he totally made Michael his own. He gave him different
Mhm.
kind of clothes for the most part. Um
Right.
and the mask was so different. He made him more human. I don't mind at all that you can see like half his face and parts of it, because that
Right.
to me he took Rob Zombie totally humanized Michael Myers from the
He did.
get-go with a whole backstory and everything like that. So to me, I'm like, this is a bad evil human
Mhm.
being, huge
Right.
dude who's scary with a
Yep.
mask on. So
Yep.
almost not even Michael Myers. He's just some like scary dude. So
Right.
that's why Rob Zombie's ranked so high. So yeah, number 9, Rob Zombie. Number 1, 2, I mean 8, Rob Zombie 2, like you said.
Yep. Rob Zombie's 2 is higher than the other one. Okay. Gotcha.
The reasons
Cool.
you
All right.
said, especially. Yeah.
So, my number 7 is 2018. Uh,
Mhm.
I did like this look. I thought they did a really good job with this mask overall, as far as like trying to, like, when I compare what they did with the Rob Zombie, sort of weathered, and the mask that had been under the floorboards for however many years, it was supposed to be 15 years. That mask versus what they did with the 2018 mask, where it truly looked like it maybe could have been like a decayed mask. I thought that was just really cool. Austin and I have talked before that if you've seen pictures of the, like, what the actual Michael Myers mask looks like today or in recent years, like the jaws like falling off, and like it's just, it looks really nasty. I almost would have preferred that look to what we got in 2018, because that one is obviously, that's exactly how it looks. And I think that is just creepy the way it looks today. But I genuinely liked the 2018 look. I was okay with it. I personally liked Jude Courtney, who played Michael Myers. I thought he did a good job, and just the way he moved, it felt very Nick Castle ish to me, the way Nick moved in '78. So yeah, 2018 is my number 7.
That's a good one.
Yeah,
I like it. I like
yeah,
that it's higher up because I too, I was pretty on board with that whole look in 2018. I wasn't displeased at all. So that's a good
right.
spot for it. My number 7 is Rob Zombie Hobo Myers. Again, for all the reasons I said before, like how natural and human it was, but also animalistic. It just I thought it suited the story perfectly. And I just liked seeing him in a different element, seeing him in a totally different, like, was he wearing like a big coat and like a flat, like he was wearing a totally different
Yeah,
outfit. It was just
yeah,
like, this is a real person going through it, and this is what he would look like after so many, like, all after
right.
like this amount of time. I love
Yep.
Hobo Myers. I think that is such a good character design for sure.
I I love it, and probably one of my favorite scenes on the entire franchise is in that film when Loomis is giving his speech and he's like, "Get this through your thick skulls," or whatever he says. He's like, "Michael Myers is dead, DEAD." And while they're showing that, you see Michael walking through that field as it's like dusk out. That scene is awesome. Like, because it's like, he's not dead, and he's out there, and then you see this look, and he's got, I think he's got his hood down in that scene, but you can see the beard, and
Yes.
very cool scene. And I love that you love that look, and then it falls in your top 10, because clearly it's going to fall in my top 10 here shortly as well. My number 6 is going to be Kills.
Oh.
I do like the look in Kills where, the mask has been burned. He's
Mhm.
got a few bullet holes in him. He's got like the black, I don't know if it's necessarily supposed to be burned or if it's soot or what it's supposed to be, but he's got, the black all over the coveralls. And I like that. However, I will say, and you don't really see it, but Trick or Treat Studios released this like Kills mask that has the bullet hole and it has like blood coming out of it. That mask looked, I have it, it's up on my shelf, but it looks really dumb, quite honestly. So I didn't like that, but like the way the Kills mask looks in that film, I really I like that look. I like that they did something a little bit different with Michael, that it wasn't that you could see some progression or some aging, I guess, and not aging as far as like it getting older, but just like the film moving from what you saw in 2018 to all of this stuff going down that night, him getting caught up in this basement and being in this fire, and this is the look that you got. And of course, again, I already talked about James Jude Courtney. I like what he did, so that's where that one ranks for me, is number 6.
Hey, you know what? I let my feelings interfere a little because it is
See,
a cool look. It is a cool look. I just it was so not like this. I don't know.
I
Just
get it.
can't with that. I can't with that movie. I was like,
I
I'm
know.
looking at the picture and I'm like, I'm just too mad about it. Just too mad at you because you're not Michael Myers to me. But yeah, that's cool. I get
Yeah.
it.
I get it. It's not by far one of my favorite movies at all.
I
It's
know.
not, but yeah, it's tough. It's tough when you either like the movie but not the look, or you like the
Mhm.
look but not the movie. And that's kind of how I feel about this one, is I like the look but not the movie.
It was tough because like it all on all my top ones, it was strictly based on visual aesthetic. But then my bottom ones,
Sure.
I'm like, I'll put it all down here because I hate you.
Right. Yeah. Right. Exactly. Yeah. And it's hard not to let emotion get involved with it too, because we are emotionally invested in these films, and that alone can make or break some of these looks.
It's absolutely true, and I think something you said earlier maybe broke this look for me. But my number 6 is H4 gas station bandage Michael Myers.
Wow.
I I mean, burnt aside,
Right.
I think that it was so that bandage head is so creepy. And like you say, it could be with the coveralls on fine, but even if you had that the
The
hospital gown,
coveralls? Oh, the
like
hospital gown. Okay, yeah.
even the hospital gown, I think that's so creepy looking because it almost like it looks like an escaped like mental patient. I honestly would have been okay if they did like half the movie at least with those bandages on, and it was a
Oh, really?
Halloween movie. I
Oh,
I like seeing I like seeing Michael Myers in different looks because when he has his mask on, I want it to be look right. So it's like
right,
sometimes I'd rather him look totally different than look like Michael Myers, but the mask is so crappy. Like there's no
right.
excuse. You know?
I
So
get
I'm
that.
this is why my
Yeah.
top is like all these different looks for Michael Myers.
Well, and you bring up a good point. It's something I've never really thought about until you said this, is the chances of, obviously this isn't a real story, but like putting like the realism, or the realistic side to this. If this was real, would he really be able to just go out? Like, did he escape and he really was able to go out and find like the mask basically again? And I know he pulls it off of a shelf, but or would it be more likely that his mask would change? Like he'd just be like, "Hey, I just want something to cover my face," which is, I think,
Yes.
a little bit of what Rob Zombie was going for with his remake. He wore a whole bunch of different masks as when he was in the asylum, and then that obviously changed once he got out with the mask that he found. But that's a good point. Like, maybe it would have been kind of cool to see him go further with just that bandage look.
Yeah. That'd be cool. Okay, we're in top five now. Top five
And we're in
land.
top five. Let's do this. Number 5, I'm gonna just keep going with the David Gordon Green thing, and they go in that exact order, is Halloween Ends. I've got it bookended, or on this side, I guess I've got my sort of setup bookended here with 78, and then the ends over here. I personally love the ends mask. I like the way the like mold is growing on the mask. I think it's a cool look and how it's growing on his his coveralls. Um, I know you will never ever agree with me on this, and that's
Okay.
perfectly fine. But I don't know. I like it. And what's funny is when I first saw ends, I was like, no way. I'm not gonna like this. This is gonna be stupid. And I remember even going to like Spirit Halloween and they had the ends mask there. And I'm like, nope, that's dumb. Mold on a mask, who wants that? And this was after I'd seen the film. And a few days later, I was like, oh wait, that's actually kind of cool. I'm digging this a little bit more. And I literally had to drive back and buy the mask, and now it is in my display. So it's grown on me a lot, and that's where it lands for me.
Okay, well, maybe it'll grow on me when when I watch the movie again, which I know I haven't done yet, but I promise you I will.
I've
I
been hearing that
promise.
for a year. I've been hearing
I
that
know.
for a year, Marie.
Quite a year, but I mean, I will. I promise. My number 5 is Halloween 2. I like that it's the same mask, even though it looks totally different. On
Dick
please help me.
Warlock. Yep.
Yes, thank you, Dick Warlock.
Yep. See,
It looks
it's
very.
it's filled with useless information. So yeah, keep going.
I'm like it's there, but I can't access that part of my brain right now.
Right.
And
Right.
it looks really wide on him. His head obviously different shape. I always thought it looked more cat like on
Yeah.
him. He looked kind of feline. But I like that it's the same mask, and I like that movie, and I like scenes in that movie. I like his body language in that movie. I like that movie, and I like the way he looks and the way he makes me feel in that movie.
I
It's
love it.
top five.
I love it. Well, it's your number 5, but it's my number 4 is
Nice.
the Halloween 2, and for all the reasons you just said, right? You're still very much in that it still very much looks like the original, even though like the coveralls are green versus that kind of grayish blue color that he was wearing in 78. The mask, the shape is obviously different because it was a different actor. But for me, just knowing that that is the mask, that in itself makes it that much cooler, because and Austin and I actually just talked about this on our show recently, that if that were today in today's world and we saw it with the latest trilogy, they didn't use the same masks. Like that would have never been a thing to just reuse a mask from the previous film. They would have gone out and they would have gotten new molds and they would have, done whatever and recreated the mask. But for them to be like, hey, we have this one and it worked. Why don't you wear it? I love it. And yeah, that's why it's number 4 on my list for me.
I love it. I agree with everything you just said. My number 4 is the Rob Zombie jack-o'-lantern mask. That whole
Really? Ah,
yes, I love that whole him being an adult in the institution, and you see all the masks he's making. I found it so poetic, and like it gave this like bad evil human being like some depth and creepiness, a creepiness factor. I love that it looks very much handmade paper mache. I love that it's a jack-o'-lantern face
right.
tying it into like the Halloween aspect, and like him always remembering like that day of Halloween. And it's just I found it so it's poetic to me. And then I love his long hair hanging over it, and I love that whole scene of him busting out. I love that look, and I find it so unsettling and but also just beautiful. I love it. I love that look.
It is a cool look. And going back to what I said earlier about like Rob Zombie just not really, his version of Michael was just that Michael wanted his face covered. It's
Yeah.
cool that he had this sort of jack-o'-lantern look. And have you ever noticed this when you're watching that scene when there's a shot where they show Michael from behind? Have you noticed that there's like just a white face mask that looks like the Michael Myers mask in that shot? Have you ever seen that before?
Yes, and I have
Okay,
goosebumps
all right.
thinking about it. I love that.
Yeah, I always thought like that's clearly he just like they wanted to throw that in there as like a little like Easter egg kind of thing.
Oh,
But
yeah.
I always see that and I'm like, that's cool that Michael made a mask that looks like that mask.
I
So
know.
yeah,
Love
I
it.
love it. It's a great scene. It's an
Mhm.
awesome scene because it's like that's when like Michael means business. He's not
Oh, yeah.
screwing around. He's not screwing around. So awesome pick. My number 3, so we're down to top 3 is Halloween 6 for all the reasons that
Yeah.
we've already talked about. I love the look of Michael, the brutality, his aggression, and not that that necessarily have anything to do with his look, but just the way he moves and the I don't necessarily care for like the gray. They had gray coveralls, which I thought was weird that they decided to change that up. But I love the mask. It's so cool that they took what they made something their own of an idea that came from, obviously years before that with the 78 mask. But George P. Wilbur in that film, and I know there was a couple other actors who played Michael in that movie, but I just like the way George P. Wilbur moved, the way he looked different, that aggression. So yeah, Halloween 6 Michael is my number 3.
Awesome. I'm here for it. I agree for it being that high up. Love it. My number three, top three, here we go, is the brute mask, H5 brute mask. I think a lot of it doesn't have to do totally with the mask itself, but with I know it's the scene. The scene's so good, but to me, it's his whole body language and the look in his eyes, the those gloves gripping the steering wheel and the sound of it. You can feel the tension that he is giving off and him looking at Tina when she kisses the cheek and his eyes and the breathing. And I'm just like, his
Right.
whole being in that scene is like, even though you're wearing a different mask that looks kind of like a goofy, weird mask, like that is Michael Myers in there and you know it.
Mhm.
Like I'm like,
You know it.
he's emanating. Is that the word? Am I
Yeah,
pronouncing that
yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah.
He's oozing Michael. He's like
He
it's
is.
coming out of him, and it's just like that is one of the most tense scenes, and I love the fact that you could feel that he's Michael Myers, even though he doesn't look like him in that moment. Love it.
Well, and you
Oh,
you can also see like he's pissed. Like when she leans like because she had been like Michael, open the door, and he like all that stuff was going on. But you talked about that when she kisses him on the cheek and like the angle of the camera, the way the camera is angled at him, you just see his like eyes like look at her almost like he's side eyeing her a little bit. Creepy, super creepy. It's a great scene, great scene. Love the scene. So I totally understand why it's so high on your list.
well, you feel the tension, but you also feel his restraint. Like he is like
Right.
trying so hard not to get rid of this girl right now, and you
Right.
feel how much he's holding back, and like the power. Like oh,
Exactly.
love
Yeah.
it.
I agree. You're selling me on that look more, and now I kind of feel bad that it ended up. Where was it on my list? It was like way down. It was number 17. Now I kind of feel bad that
That's
it was that
cool.
low, but I agree with everything that you just said. It's a great scene, and it's just fun to see Michael in a different. Like, what did he do with the mask? Like, did he just throw it in the back seat, or what happened to
Mhm.
the mask? And when did he decide to switch it up? So yeah, well, and I'm trying to think about that now. When he goes if I'm trying to remember back in the film, when she goes into the store, I feel like is there a shot later and you can see he's put the white mask back on, or
He
my
puts it on. He puts it on when she gets out of the car. Yeah.
okay, all right. So that's all right. So
Yeah.
that's what I was trying to remember. So yeah, that's
Yeah.
I hear you. Well, we're down to the final two.
Mhm.
And I know that at least one of your final two is going to be the same as mine because we've gone, but I surprised myself with this pick. Okay. And up until about 3 minutes before we started filming this, I had to actually change this. But my number two is the classic 1978 Michael Myers look. It finished at number two for me. It was number one for a very, very long time. Do you want me to just say my number one since we're and then you can do your top two since I there's only one left. Should we do it? Should we do that?
Sure. Yeah.
So mine and because I'm going to compare the two. That's why I guess I asked. So my number one is the Rob Zombie Hobo Myers look, and the classic Michael Myers 1978. It's awesome. It's super cool. I love it. It's the OG. It's the most it's awesome. But there's something about that Rob Zombie that like we already talked about with the Hobo Myers look that it seems so much more real to me, kind of like you talked about. Like this is what Michael would look like if he escaped and a year later he had been just on the run. He'd been eating God knows what, living in the woods, like stealing clothes, killing people, doing whatever he needed to do to survive. And he just like that coat that he had on, the beard, all of that that was my number two. And then I was like, no, it's so much cooler and so much more original than Michael Myers in 1978. Like there was a lot more thought put into the Hobo Myers. And for that, I'm like squeaking it out just barely giving the Rob Zombie Hobo 2 Myers my number 1 pick and the 1978 version of Michael Myers my number 2 pick.
Respect this so much. It is absolutely so true. I love that you did this. Yes, the 1978 is like our go-to. Like this is what well, I mean, I for me it's the one I saw first. So that's the one that made me love him. But having looking at it when you're older, especially, and you're like you've seen so many of them, is like the realism, the originality, and everything that Rob Zombie did and that hobo look. I to me, I when you were mentioning it earlier about like him walking in that field, that's the scene that
Mhm.
stands out in the like Rob
Right.
Zombie. Halloween 2 isn't one of my favorites. It ranks pretty low for me, but the look and the originality and the realism is that is like hands down the most inventive and
Yeah.
like smart thing that he could have done. And the beard, like when is Michael shaving in all these other movies?
Right.
Like is he just are you
Exactly.
picturing Michael Myers just
Yeah.
shaving? Like everything, haircuts, you don't get a haircut, dude.
Right.
That's
Exactly.
what I respect that. Totally different opposite ends of the spectrum. And I like that you put Rob Zombie, Hobo Myers ahead. Love it.
I had to. I went back and forth, but that was ultimately what I decided. So thank you.
I respect the hell out of that decision. My
Thank you.
number two is so silly because it's the H2 gunshot bloody eyes one, and I don't know why.
Oh, okay.
I just remember from being a child to now, even though when I was a kid, I thought it was so silly. I'm like, there's no way Laurie Strode, probably never handled a gun in her life, is going to get
Right.
two perfect bullseyes on the eyeballs, and then
Right.
he's going to continue to just walk around and stuff. So silly. Like, what a ridiculous scene. I can't even believe they put that in the movie. But I just love so much what it looks like. And I love that you don't get in the first movie, especially, there's not like much blood or anything. There's like no blood because John Carpenter didn't want any blood, but to
Right.
have like actual blood dripping down and his hand go up, just that image, I was like, oh, I love that image. I would get it tattooed on me. I want a poster of it. There's something about just
Right.
that image and the aesthetic of it that I love, even though it's ridiculous, so far fetched, never would happen, and it's just so silly. I
Yep.
love that image. Is it burnt in my burnt pun intended in
Right.
my mind forever? I love it. Love it.
I I love it, and I agree, and it's such a classic look. Like when you think about like if you were to just like have 1,000 snapshots or images of horror films that were running through your mind, that like the bloody tear Michael Myers mask would be in my mind for sure because it's just such a iconic scene. And like you talked about when he reaches up, that
Oh,
scene is yeah, because it's almost like at that point you're wondering too, is this guy more than a man at this point now? He just took 2 bullets to the head, right, to the eyeballs.
mhm.
But he's still doing his thing. So yeah, I love that. I love that you love that and that it ranks that high for you.
It does, and I don't know. There's probably people out there who can like look into it and be like, "Oh, it's a metaphor for his pain, and he's crying, and the blood that
Right.
he shed," and it's like,
Right. Right.
but I don't look at it that way. I just think it's cool looking.
Get
So
it.
that is
Yeah.
my number two, and obviously my number one is 78. I agree with your answer. I respect the hell out of it. I just I when I say love Michael Myers, like I loved Michael Myers when I was younger. He was just like it for me, and that mask did it. That was it. I wanted that mask in all the other movies. Never got it again. Never got even though we got it again, it was never that look. Never looked the same. But that
Right.
look is so pristine. It's so creepy. It just has but it's also elegant looking. I
Hmm.
love the 1978 look, and that's will forever have my heart. Even though even if some looks I think are cooler or better or make more sense, that is what won me over, and it's gorgeous. So
I get
that's
it.
my
And
number
what's
one.
crazy is they didn't even like try that hard to make that thing
No,
look that cool. Like it was just a
no.
can of spray paint and they took off some hair and cut the eyes a little bit. And that was basically it,
Sometimes you don't need to put too much. Don't try too hard. Just like here,
That's
I
right.
felt that this looks good, right? And then it's like, oh
Right.
yeah, that was good. Yeah.
Exactly. And that's what goes back to the flashback mask, because they really tried really hard to make that look good, and they didn't. And literally with the original, they just like took white spray paint and dark hair, spray paint on his hair and cut the eye holes out, and that was, pretty close to being it. So yeah, I hear you. We had some that were very similar, and then some that were way far apart. And I'm glad that it was that way because it would have been really boring if we were like, step for step the same exact thing. So I love the fact that they're way different lists.
I love that fact too. We had one in the same spot, well, two kind of in the same spot, and I'm here for it. And you know what? You had some really good points that kind of swayed my opinion a little bit. I was like, okay, no, he's right about that. And maybe
Likewise.
I had a little bit of points that yeah, you would like too.
Exactly. Exactly. That was fun. That was a good time.
It was fun. What do you guys think? Let us know in the comments below. Like, are our rankings way off? I don't know. What do you think? Do you think the CG, not CG, but the Halloween Kills flashback mask is great, or do you think it sucks like I thought, or do you think it's awesome? Like, where do you place it? That one I'm interested about because there's
Me too.
varying. Thank you for watching this episode of Marie Plays It All with my very special guest, Blaine Duncan. So happy to have you here. You can find more of my content on our YouTube channel, Not a Strong Start. You can follow us on Instagram and Twitter at Not a Strong Start. You can listen to us anywhere you listen to your podcast, and you can follow me on Instagram at Marie Plays It All. Let the world know where everyone can find you, Blaine Duncan.
Yeah, so you can check out our podcast at Halloween Lives on YouTube. Just go type in Halloween Lives podcast. You'll find us. We've got a whole bunch of episodes out there. And of course, hit us up on Instagram at halloween.lives.podcast. Reach out, let us know if you like the show. Give us some ideas. We're always looking for more ideas. And yeah, thank you so much for having me on. This was a blast. Let's definitely do this again because I can talk Halloween. I can talk horror or anything all the time. So let's do this again because it was a lot of fun.
It was so much fun. Thank you so much for coming on. Thank you for always having me on when you have me on. And I'm definitely gonna have you on again. We'll do something horror next time. I just wanted to
Okay,
warm up with some Halloween stuff.
perfect.
I just want to say, everyone, never stop playing and never stop rating people's drips. Never stop fit checking. I don't know. What do the kids say
Yes.
these days?
Whatever those young bucks are saying these days, don't stop.